This film has no humor, and it's too dark. Not enough action. Well, Kurt Russell, what do you have to say about that? Exactly. Okay, so to be honest, right, like the no humor, too dark, and not enough action. This one really angered me because if you're going to be critical of a film, I'm not going to go into Schindler's List. This film never suggested it's going to be light and humorous and funny. There was nothing in apart from when they started making them feel fear that if they didn't have a little bit of humor peppered in here and there, that people weren't going to respond well to the trailers and not come to the movie. So they put in a couple of jokes which were bad and shouldn't have probably been in the film because they were distracting. And I think actually Lex Luthor brought enough humor to the movie anyway. But anyway, forget about that. But this angered me because I don't go to a film like Schindler's List and start saying, well, I don't like that movie because it's too dark and it's too realistic and it's got no humor. The reason I don't do that is because Schindler's List didn't say that it was supposed to be light-hearted. It never, presented itself as to be something full of humor. So why would you be critical of a movie for not having a light enough tone to it? As a critic, it doesn't make any sense. You criticize a movie for what it's trying to be and show how through what it's trying to be it fails. You don't criticize a movie for what you as an audience member or you as a film critic want it to be. And as for not enough action, the action in this movie is far superior to Civil War. The action in Civil War is so cartoonish, so over the top, just ridiculously moronic, and yet has no stakes. No one dies, no one, not that I'm saying anyone should die, I'm just saying, like, I'm comparing the way the action works. The action in Batman v Superman makes sense, it's grounded, and it's brutal. There's not one action scene in in Civil War that has I'm sorry, you could say that big action scene with Ant-Man, and I loved when Ant-Man grew big as well, and I loved when seeing Spider-Man get in the mix with Captain America and all those guys. But there's not one action scene that can hold a candle to that Batman scene in the warehouse, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it, right? There's no action scene that can hold a candle to the Batman, in the Batmobile, just mowing through cats, driving through boats, just amazing action. Amazing, incredible action. And what I appreciate about the distinction between the action, and I'm not saying I did not enjoy the action in Civil War. Do not get me wrong with what I'm saying. I'm saying the action in Batman v Superman is more sophisticated, it's more intelligent, it's more visceral, and therefore I enjoy it more. The action for me in The Dark Knight is better than Civil War. It's more stylized in Batman v Superman, and yet at the same time more grounded. Look at how Batman faces Doomsday in the movie. Look at the difference between how Batman has to respond to Doomsday, to the threat of Doomsday, in comparison with how the Avengers in Captain America Civil War, they respond to each other. Like, everyone can somehow take on everyone. It's just completely ridiculous. Like, you've got humans, like human level characters like Hawkeye, and that dumb bird character, I don't know what his name is, Anthony Mackie. You've got someone like even Ant-Man is kind of strangely, I don't know why his power of getting small is so effective. Or Black Widow is the one that pisses me off the most. I mean, this is a human woman, okay, and this is nothing against women. Obviously, you should be very tough, and if you're trained well enough, you could take down most any man. But like, when these characters start going up against Vision, doing shit against essentially a being who is on the same level as Superman, and these guys can fight them somehow. How? When she's going up against the Chitauri, an alien force that is from space, and somehow taking shots at Loki. It's all of this stuff, all of this cartoonish things, where I know what it is. I know exactly what it is. It's like the actors are like, oh, in my contract, I want my character to be cool, because that's going to help my film career. It's the same thing as with the guy who played Hawkeye, who's one of the most boring characters in comic book history, and in the films is one of the most boring characters, and he's like, oh, I want more time, I should be given more lines, I want more lines of these jokes so that my character can develop, because that's what character development is, saying, funny jokes, having little lines of dialogue, that little zingers or whatever. That's to them what character development is. So he says, I'm sure this is why that all of them are so spectacular in their action scenes, no matter what. They say, oh, I want to be able to, we all have to be able to take shots at each other, no matter what kind of power level we are. It's like somehow Black Widow can take on, Iron Man somehow. I don't know how, but she can do it. Or Spider-Man. Or Paul Rudd can, Ant-Man can hang with Spider-Man, even though Spider-Man's, got all kinds of powers that shouldn't allow that to happen. It's too cartoonish and unrealistic, and also there's no stakes. They're not even, essentially it's a sparring match. They're not even trying to hurt each other. The whole thing is absolutely absurd. And then these guys come in. I'm sorry, I'm going to go into this more in the Civil War part of where I go into why I think the 10 reasons I think Civil War is not as good a movie. It's completely overrated, completely overzealous, the way the critics are pouring on accolades to this movie. So they're going on about this accord that they have, where the government are concerned about them, the way they're using their powers and how they're irresponsible with using their powers. And basically, in this half-hour long, I don't know how long it is, 26 minutes or something like that, sparring match that these super-powered beings have with each other, they just destroy a whole airport. Somewhere in the world, they just destroy a whole airport in a sparring match. They're not even trying to hurt each other. They're not facing a bad guy even. As much as I hate the Man of Steel, at least Superman, when he was just destroying public property and killing people in the process, but was actually trying to save the world from a villain. These guys are just fighting each other. They don't think maybe we shouldn't throw a plane at the other person because somebody built that plane and it's not our property to destroy. They all should have been arrested for vandalism. Essentially, they all committed criminal acts. They just took buses and whatever it was and threw it at each other. Now, am I saying they shouldn't have had a fight in an airport, and maybe if one of them got thrown in to a car or something like that, that's absolutely fine. There was nobody in the airport as far as I know. I don't know why there was nobody in the airport, but that's absolutely fine if they got thrown in. But they're literally taking stuff and throwing it and purposely destroying public or private property. After they've just been told by the government, and Tony Stark is championing this idea that they should be that they should have some kind of limitations or restrictions on what they do, and they're just going around destroy. And it's not like it's the Captain America side that's doing it. It's the Tony Stark side that's doing it. They're just going around just destroying something that isn't theirs. So anyway, it's all cartoonish, ridiculous, the logic is completely off, it makes no sense. And if you want to nitpick, you can see how I just nitpick, because I could have just sat there during Civil War and been thinking about all these things rather than sit down and just try and enjoy the bloody movie, which is what I actually tried to do, even though I didn't enjoy it that much. But I actually sat down and I attempted to try and enjoy it and ignore all these things that were niggling in my head, and I was thinking, what? That doesn't. Why do they all have the same superpowers? I thought, they all seem to be like agility, and why is it that somehow all of them seem to be able to take on Vision, even though he's like this completely OP, overpowered kind of being? Why is it that I sat there and I still just tried to sit down and take the characters in and enjoy the movie. You guys that are on the other side, the Marvel side, or the Batman fans, and I'm not just saying it's Marvel fans, it's the Batman fans, you sit down and you watch Batman vs Superman and you want to tear it apart, everything, because you're scared of other DC characters. Like the Batman fans are scared of other DC characters because they always want Batman to be the #1 DC character, and the Marvel fans are scared of all the DC characters because they always want Marvel to be the #1 comic book movie making company, Disney Marvel. So anyway, that's my side of that, cartoonish as hell. And the difference is, if the Marvel guys had have directed the Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman and Doomsday fight, they would have had Batman, because Batman's the most popular character, and how they treat Iron Man. Somehow Iron Man can take out the Hulk for some reason. I don't know how he can take out the Hulk like that, but he can take out the Hulk. So they would have had Batman somehow, be able to take down Doomsday, and he's got some weird kind of thing where he'll be able to do that. But in what Zack Snyder did is he treated the action scenes with a certain amount of respect and logic, and showed that, okay, there are limitations to Batman. He cannot just take out anyone and do anything he wants the way somehow, I don't know how, but now Iron Man is just so OP. He can take out Hulk, he can go toe to toe with Thor, all of these guys he could do these things with. He's so OP, and so is Captain America, to be quite frank. I didn't know, like in the comics, Captain America can be holding helicopters, like he's only supposed to be like a little bit stronger than human beings, like your average athletic human being. He's not supposed to be able to like grab he's not like the Hulk or Spider-Man. Spider-Man's supposed to be stronger than Captain America. But anyway, forget all that. That's all nonsense anyway to be talking about. That's getting into nerdy stuff, and it's nitpicking the way you guys usually do. So anyway, that's the first part of my rant.
You're the next one in line for the kill. You don't believe it, but I'm betting that